The fire crackled loudly beneath her feet. The alien girl stood tied to a wooden pole in the middle of a dry, dusty village square. Her eyes were wide with fear, but she didn't cry. She had already cried for hours. Now, there were no tears left, only fear and silence. Her skin was marked with strange glowing lines that made her different from the others. That was why they wanted to burn her. They believed she was cursed, a danger, a shame to their tribe. The crowd of aliens stood around her, shouting and cheering. Some beat drums. Others threw sticks into the fire to make it burn faster. The chief stepped forward, raising a large torch. His voice was loud and cold. Let the cursed one burn. Let her soul be cleansed in fire. The girl's knees shook, but she stayed silent. Her name was Lyra. She was only 17 years old, but her life had been full of pain. Her parents were taken from her when she was a child. The tribe had always feared her glowing marks. At first, they only kept her locked away. But now they had decided to kill her, to turn her into nothing but smoke and ash. The flames rose higher. The heat licked her legs. She felt it sting. She gasped but didn't scream. The chief stepped closer, ready to set the final fire. Then it happened. A loud, thunderous sound shook the sky. Everyone stopped. The drums stopped. The cheering stopped. All eyes turned upward. A strange light appeared above the village. A silver object, no, a ship, came down fast. It smashed into the edge of the village, sending dust and fire everywhere. Screams filled the air as aliens ran in every direction. From the smoke, a tall figure walked out. It was not like them. It had no horns, no sharp teeth. It wore a dark suit with shining armor plates. Its face was covered with a helmet, but its voice was clear and deep. Who ordered this burning? The figure said. No one answered. The chief stepped back, afraid. The figure moved fast, faster than any alien could follow. In seconds, he was standing beside the fire pit. He looked at the girl tied to the pole. Her eyes met his. She had never seen a human before. She didn't even know what he was. But in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Without a word, the human raised his arm. A flash of light came from his weapon. The ropes burned and fell away. Lyra collapsed into his arms. She was shaking, and her skin was hot from the flames, but she was alive. The human turned to the crowd. Burning a girl alive? Is this your honor? The aliens said nothing. They stepped back, afraid. The chief growled and gave a signal. A few warriors charged forward with sharp blades. The human didn't move. When the warriors came close, he acted. His body spun like wind, and his fists hit like steel. In seconds, the warriors lay on the ground, groaning. The crowd went silent again. Lyra, still weak in his arms, whispered, Why did you save me? The human looked down at her. Because you didn't deserve to die, he said simply. He carried her away from the fire pit. The flames behind them still burned, but they didn't look back. The human walked calmly, like he had done this many times before. Lyra rested, her head on his shoulder. Her body hurt, but she felt safe for the first time in her life. They reached the edge of the forest. The human placed her gently on the grass. He opened a small bag and gave her clean water. She drank slowly. He then placed a soft cloth on her burned leg. She winced, but he was careful and kind. Who are you? She asked. My name is Jace, he replied. I'm a human. You. I'm Lyra. Nice to meet you, Lyra. You're safe now. She looked at him with wide eyes. Will they follow us? Let them try, he said with a small smile. She didn't know why she trusted him. Maybe it was his calm voice. Maybe it was the way he fought to protect her without asking for anything. Or maybe, deep down, she believed fate had finally given her a second chance. The sun began to set, painting the sky orange and red. Lyra sat beside Jace, still weak but alive. She had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time, she wasn't alone. For the first time, someone had come for her, not to hurt her, but to save her. And she knew, deep inside, her story had only just begun. The rescue smoke still floated above the village as Jace moved deeper into the forest, carrying Lyra in his arms. Her body was light, almost too light, and he could feel her trembling. Her skin was warm, not from life, but from the burns she had narrowly escaped. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her eyes spoke everything. Fear, confusion, and something else, trust. He found a small cave hidden between two giant rocks. It was quiet, dry, and safe from view. He laid her gently on a bed of soft leaves. She winced as her skin touched the surface, but she didn't cry. She had been taught that tears were a weakness. But now, her heart felt heavy and strange. Why had this strange being risked his life to save her? Jace opened a small kit and pulled out a bottle. "This will sting," he said softly, "but it'll help." She nodded slightly. He poured the liquid on her burns. She gasped sharply, grabbing his arm, but he didn't flinch. He held her gently, calming her with his quiet strength. He wasn't like the others, cold, cruel, or loud. He moved with purpose, as if saving lives was something he had done before. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "You don't have to thank me. I just couldn't watch it happen," he said, wrapping her burns with clean cloth. What they did back there, that wasn't right. She looked at his face, his human features now visible as he removed his helmet. His eyes were deep and tired, but kind. His jaw was strong, but his voice was soft. She had never seen a face like his, so different, yet strangely comforting. "Why are you here?" she asked, still weak. Jace sat beside her, resting his back against the cave wall. "I was searching for an old supply drop. My ship picked up a distress signal. I didn't know I'd find that." Lyra lowered her eyes. "They said I was cursed because of my markings." She showed him the glowing lines on her arms. "No one wanted to be near me. They feared I would bring fire and ruin to their homes." Jace looked closely. The markings were beautiful. Not just random lines, but symbols, ancient, full of meaning. "These don't look like a curse," he said. "They look like a gift. Maybe even royal." She shook her head. "They only brought me pain." A short silence followed. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, but inside the cave, it was calm. "You know," Jace finally said, "on Earth, we had people like you. People others feared just because they were different. But difference doesn't mean danger. Sometimes it means strength." She looked at him, eyes softening. "What happened to Earth?" Jace's expression darkened. "Gone. Wars. Greed. We destroyed ourselves. I'm one of the few who made it off-world before it was too late. Now I travel, help where I can." Lyra looked away. "Maybe we are both cursed." He laughed, just a little. "Maybe. Or maybe we were meant to find each other." That made her pause. No one had ever said something like that to her before. Not even close. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed outside. Sharp clicking noises and rustling leaves. Jace stood up fast, scanning the entrance with his weapon drawn. Lyra tried to sit up, but her body was still weak. "Stay here," he said firmly. "No, they found us," she whispered. "The fire guards. They never stopped chasing." Jace didn't blink. He moved silently to the mouth of the cave and peeked out. Two creatures, large and armored, were sniffing the air, weapons in hand. They weren't just hunters, they were executioners, sent to finish what the village failed to do. He glanced back at Lyra. "I said I wouldn't let them hurt you." Then he stepped outside. Lyra could only hear bits, growls, grunts, the clash of metal, and heavy thuds. A cry of pain, then silence. Moments later, Jace returned. Blood on his arm. Not his. She gasped. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "Not mine." She looked at him differently now. He wasn't just a rescuer. He was a warrior. Someone who fought for those no one else would. He sat beside her again and handed her a warm drink from a tiny heater. "Drink this. It'll help you sleep." She held the cup with both hands. "You could have just left me, you know. Why did you stay?" Jace didn't answer at first. Then, softly, he said, "Because. Once. Someone saved me too." Lyra sipped the drink. It was bitter, but comforting. As her body began to relax, her eyes grew heavy. She looked at the cave roof, then at Jace, who now sat near the firelight, his eyes scanning the darkness. She had always dreamed of being saved, but she never believed it would actually happen. Not like this. As her eyes closed, one thought echoed in her mind. This human was not part of her world, but maybe he was the only part that ever made her feel alive. Hunted again, the forest looked calm, but danger was hiding in its silence. Lyra walked slowly beside Jace, her steps light but careful. Her burns were healing, and her strength was returning little by little. The nights were still cold, and the memories of the fire pit still haunted her dreams, but something had changed. She was no longer alone. and she was no longer weak. Jace walked ahead, always alert, always listening. His eyes never rested. His weapon stayed close to his side. He knew the enemy wasn't done. The tribe that tried to burn Lyra wouldn't stop. They would send trackers, killers, and they'd be closer every day. "We need shelter," Jace said, scanning the sky. "And fast. They'll find our trail soon." They reached a strange structure hidden deep in the jungle, a ruin from an ancient time. Broken stone walls, tall vines, and half-buried doors told the story of something once great, now forgotten. Jace stepped inside first, checking every corner. Then he waved her in. Lyra looked around, amazed. "What is this place?" "Old-world tech. Not human. But not your kind either," Jace said. "Could be a place no one dares enter." "Then it's perfect," she replied, sitting down with a sigh. That night, they shared food in silence. Then Lyra broke it. "Do you think I'll ever be safe?" she asked. Jace didn't lie. "Maybe not. But you won't be alone." She looked at him, eyes full of questions. She wanted to ask more, but something in her heart held her back. Instead, she told him her story, fully, for the first time. "I was born during a storm," she began. "The sky turned violet, and lightning hit the temple near my mother's home. That same night, the glowing lines appeared on my skin." Jace listened carefully, saying nothing. "The elders said I was marked by the forgotten gods. They called me star-blooded. Some said I'd bring power. Others said I'd bring ruin. Which did you bring?" Jace asked. "I brought fear," she said quietly. "My parents tried to protect me. But when they died, the tribe locked me away. Said I was better hidden." She paused. "Then one day, the fire chief said the land was dying because of me. That my blood was poison. They dragged me to the fire pit that night." Jace looked at her for a long moment, then said, "They feared what they didn't understand." She nodded. "Now they hunt what they failed to kill." As if summoned by her words, a high-pitched whistle sliced through the air. Jace stood instantly. "They're here." He ran to the entrance of the ruin. Glowing red eyes moved between trees. Shadows and armor crept closer, quiet as death. They were fast, skilled, alien fire trackers with no pity and no words. Jace turned to Lyra. "Get to the back. Hide. Don't come out until I say." "No," she said. "I won't run again." Before he could stop her, she picked up a broken metal staff from the floor. Her hands shook, but her eyes were firm. She would not go back to the pole. Not again. The battle began in seconds. Blades clashed. Fire flashed. Jace moved like a ghost, fast and silent. Lyra swung clumsily, but with fury. One tracker grabbed her by the arm. She screamed, and something inside her snapped. The markings on her skin flared bright blue at a burst of energy shot from her hand, throwing the attacker across the room. Jace saw it happen and froze. "What was that?" I don't know," she said, breathing hard. Her skin was glowing brighter now, not from fear, but from power. The last two hunters saw it too, and ran. Jace walked over, watching her carefully. "That wasn't magic. That was ancient tech. Inside you." Lyra looked down at her arms. The lines were no longer just marks. They pulsed like circuits, like something alive. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means they were right to fear you," Jace said slowly. "But for the wrong reasons." They sat beside the ruins, quiet. Again, she was shaking, but not from weakness. She felt strong, different, awake. "I thought I was cursed," she whispered. "You're not cursed," Jace said. "You're something new, something they couldn't control. That's why they wanted you gone." She looked at him, truly looked, and, "What about you? Why do you stay with me?" Jace didn't blink. "Because I don't run from power. I protect it when it's good." Lyra leaned her head back against the wall. Her world had broken, burned, and fallen apart. But maybe, just maybe, something better was growing from the ashes, and she wasn't the only one being hunted now. She had power, she had fire, and she had a human who wasn't afraid to stand. Beside her, the hunters would come again. But next time, they wouldn't find a scared girl in ropes, they'd find a warrior. Asterisk bond grows stronger, the forest air was calm, but something between them had changed. After the attack at the ruins, Jace and Lyra kept moving. Their path was rough, through thick vines, over sharp rocks, and across rivers that reached her chest. But she never complained. She followed Jace with quiet determination, each step bringing her farther from fear and closer to something she didn't yet understand. One night, they reached an open valley under a sky full of stars. They set up camp near a stream, where the water glowed faintly blue under moonlight. Jace placed his gear carefully, always alert. Lyra sat nearby, her arms around her knees. The strange glowing marks on her skin pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Does it still hurt? Jace asked, nodding toward her burned side. Lyra shook her head. No, not like before. He tossed her a small packet. Protein cubes. Not tasty, but better than roots. She caught it and gave a small smile. It's not bad. Better than firewood and fear. Jace chuckled. That's a low bar. She laughed, truly laughed. It was the first real sound of joy from her in days. He looked at her for a moment, her silver hair falling gently over one shoulder, her strange glowing eyes filled with quiet fire. She was different, yes. Alien, but not dangerous. Not to him. You don't ask questions, Lyra said after a pause. Not like others. I ask when I need to, he said. I listen more. Then listen now, she said. Why do you fight for me? I'm not human. I'm not even normal. Jace leaned back and looked up at the stars. When Earth was dying, people fought over power. Over who was worth saving. I lost someone because of that. A little girl. My sister. The government said she wasn't on the list. Said she wasn't important enough. I swore I'd never leave. Someone behind again. Lyra was silent. Then, she whispered, if your sister lived, would she look like me? Jace turned to her. She had fire in her. Just like you. That same look. Like the world kicked her down, and she stood up anyway. Lyra looked at the stream. Maybe I was waiting to be saved. But now, I want to stand up too. I want to fight. Then we train, Jace said with a smile. The next morning, training began. Jace taught her how to balance a blade, how to move without sound, how to aim and shoot. She learned fast. Her body remembered pain, but now, it learned strength. She fell, got back up, fell again, but never stopped. By the third day, she could hit a mark from 10 paces. She smiled when she did. Jace clapped lightly. Not bad. Not bad, she laughed. That was perfect. He smirked. You missed the center. But I didn't miss the target, she said proudly. Later, as they cleaned their gear, Lyra asked, do you ever miss your home? Jace nodded. Every day? But home isn't a place anymore. It's who I protect. She didn't speak, but her heart beat faster. Her markings glowed faintly. That night, a soft rain began to fall. They sat under a large tree, their shoulders just barely touching. Lyra shivered slightly. You're cold, Jace said. I'm fine. But he took off his jacket and gently placed it around her shoulders. She froze. Humans do this, she asked wide-eyed. Yeah. It's just kindness. She looked down at the jacket. It was big, warm, and smelled like something old, like metal, smoke, and something safe. No one's ever given me warmth, she whispered. You have it now, Jace said simply. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she said, do I look strange to you? Jace turned to her, really looking. No, he said. You look strong. Her breath caught. No one had ever called her that. Not once. She didn't know what to say, so she leaned against him, just a little. He didn't move away. His hand rested gently over hers to eye in that quiet space under the stars. They didn't need words. A bond had formed, not of blood, or duty, or war, but of choice. And though the fire still chased them, they now had something stronger between them, something no hunter could burn. Asterisk betrayal in the shadows, the mountains were colder, sharper, and full of whispers. Jace led Lyra through narrow trails carved by time and wind, each step bringing them closer to something he hadn't spoken of yet, a hidden place, a memory buried deep in steel and stone. Lyra felt it in his silence. Something was coming after days of climbing. They reached it, a half-buried military outpost built into the cliffs. Old human tech, rusted doors, broken lights, but the shield grid still blinked faintly, still alive. Jace touched the panel. The door opened with a hiss, and the scent of dust, oil, and long-gone memories poured out. You've been here before, Lyra said. Yes, he replied. Long ago, with people I trusted. He didn't say more, but his eyes said enough. They entered the dark halls. Lights flickered weakly as backup power flicked on. Lyra looked around in awe. It was a dead world inside a mountain. Human writing on the walls. Empty rooms, dusty crates, and screens that buzzed quietly. It felt like a grave. Then came voices. Hold your fire. Jace shouted, raising his hands from the shadows. 3 humans stepped forward. Soldiers. Dirty uniforms, tired eyes, but weapons raised high. Jace, one of them said slowly. Is that really you? Harper, Jace nodded. Still breathing? Barely, Harper replied, lowering his rifle. We thought you were dead. Close, Jace muttered. But not yet. Their reunion was short. Awkward. Then eyes shifted to Lyra. Harper's smile faded. What is that? She's not of that. Her name is Lyra. The others looked at her with clear suspicion. Lyra felt the heat of their stares. She took a step behind Jace, not out of fear, but caution. These weren't like him. Their eyes held anger, not understanding. She one of them? The second soldier growled. The glowing freaks who torched our patrol? No, Jace said firmly. She was the one they tried to burn. That doesn't mean she's clean. Harper muttered. Jace stood taller. She's with me. That's all that matters. They let them stay, but the air inside the outpost turned heavy. That night, Lyra sat alone in the corner of an old storage room, hugging her knees. Her glowing markings dimmed with sadness. Do they hate me? She asked when Jace came in. They don't know you, he replied. They don't want to. Jace sat beside her. Fear turns good people into cowards. I've seen it before. I thought humans were different, she whispered. They are, he said. But even we forget our humanity sometimes. Just then, alarms screamed. Jace ran toward the main hall. Lyra followed. One of the soldiers had activated a beacon. What did you do? Jace shouted. They were tracking her, Harper said coldly. We saw the drones. They'll come anyway. Better to use her as bait, then blast them when they arrive. You betrayed us, Jace yelled. I protected our kind, Harper snapped. That alien girl is not your responsibility. She's mine now, Jace growled. A tense silence. Then Harper raised his weapon. You going to stop us, Jace? For her. Without warning, Lyra stepped forward. Her voice shook, but was clear. You don't have to trust me. But I didn't choose these marks. I didn't choose to be hated. But I'm done running. Her skin began to glow. Not with fear, but fire. Controlled, steady, powerful. You want to use me as bait? She said. Then know this. If they come for me, I'll be the last thing they ever see. Jace looked at her, amazed. Her eyes burned like stars. She was done hiding. I'm standing with her, he said. Anyone who wants to stop that will have to go through me. Harper paused, then lowered his gun. You've changed, Jace. No, Jace replied. I finally remembered who I am. Later that night, Lyra sat near the power core, her face glowing softly. I'm sorry, she said. I caused this. No, Jace replied. You revealed the truth. Some humans still fear what they should protect. She looked at him. Would you really fight your own kind for me? He nodded. You're not just someone I saved. You're someone I believe in. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, then leaned gently against him. Outside, shadows moved. Enemies were coming. But this time, she wasn't just a target. She was ready to fight back. Her hidden power dawn broke across the cliffs, cold and red like spilled blood. Inside the mountain outpost, silence hung heavy, too heavy. Jace didn't sleep. He stood watch by the reinforced door, eyes locked on the empty screen, showing no movement yet. Lyra sat beside the old power core, her back straight, hands resting on her knees. Her skin still shimmered faintly, glowing from within. Something inside her was changing, and she could feel it. They're coming, aren't they? She asked softly. Jace nodded. Soon. The beacon had been lit. Even if Harper shut it down, it was too late. The enemy had already sniffed their trail. The ones who tried to burn her alive. They would come to finish what they started. But this time, Lyra wasn't afraid. Her fear had burned away the night Harper called her bait. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The floor rumbled. Jace grabbed his weapon. Contact. Outside, the mountainside exploded. Rock and smoke filled the sky. Enemy troops poured out from black dropships, twice as many as before. They weren't just hunters now. They were war beasts, armored, growling, hungry for blood. Inside, chaos broke loose. The remaining humans scrambled, shouting, grabbing guns, locking doors. Jace turned to Lyra. We hold the line. She stood slowly. No, I end this. Before he could stop her, she stepped into the hallway. Her glowing marks began to pulse brighter, brighter, until the whole tunnel glowed blue around her. The others watched in shock. Even Harper froze. "What is she?" someone whispered. Jace answered. "She's what they tried to destroy. But they failed." Outside, the enemy broke through the first barrier. Lyra lifted her hand at a wave of blue energy, burst from her skin, throwing metal crates, cracking walls, and sending soldiers flying. Her eyes glowed fully now, no longer hiding her power, but owning it. "She's activating something," Jace whispered. Deep in the outpost, old systems came online. Ancient machines built for defense, now waking after years of sleep. It was her. She was the key. Her blood, her markings, her presence. The mountain had once belonged to her kind. Now, it did again. "I remember," Lyra said, her voice distant. "This place, it knew me before I was born. My ancestors built it. I wasn't cursed. I was chosen." She raised both arms. Outside, the sky cracked open with a blinding light. Enemy dropships lost control and crashed into the rocks. Soldiers screamed as energy walls closed around them. The mountain defended its queen. Inside, everyone stared, humans and aliens alike. "She's controlling the base?" Harper muttered, stunned. "She is the base," Jace replied. Lyra turned to the remaining enemies who broke through. "I am not your sacrifice," she said. "I am your storm." She unleashed a second wave. Fire and wind exploded outward. The last of the attackers fell back, broken and burning. Some even dropped their weapons and ran. When the dust settled, Lyra dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Jace rushed to her side. "Easy," he said, holding her up. "I'm okay," she whispered. "But it's a lot. All of it. You don't have to carry it alone," he said. For the first time, Harper stepped forward. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "About you. About her." Lyra looked at him, tired but strong. "Do you see me now?" "Yes," Harper said. "And I'm not the only one. The galaxy will hear about this." Lyra stood, taller than before. "Then let them hear. Let them know the girl they tried to burn now commands the storm." Jace smiled. "I think they just made their biggest mistake." Together, they walked to the edge of the outpost. The smoke cleared. The sky opened. Lyra looked up. "I thought I was born to die. But maybe I was born to lead." Jace nodded. "And I'll follow you anywhere." In that moment, the hunted girl was gone. In her place stood a queen, reborn from ash, lit by stars, and guarded by the one human who never looked away. New beginning. The sky over the mountains was calm now. No fire, no ships, no war cries. Just wind. Clean, cold wind, like a breath after holding it for too long. The battle was over. The enemy had fallen. But something greater had risen in their place. Lyra stood at the edge of the cliff, her glowing marks faint now but steady. No longer wild, no longer afraid. Behind her, the mountain outpost hummed with new life. Machines responded to her presence. Doors opened when she walked. Lights followed her steps. It had accepted her. And so had the people. Harper approached slowly. He no longer looked like a leader. He looked like a man who had seen a miracle and didn't know how to explain it. "We'll need to send word," he said, "to what's left of the colonies. They'll want to know." "Let them," Lyra replied. "Let them all know I survived." Jace stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the sky. He wasn't smiling. Not yet. There was more to think about. "What now?" Lyra asked him. He turned to her. "That depends on you." She thought about it. For most of her life, she had been running, hiding, begging to be seen. Now they were all looking at her. But for once, not with hate. Not with fear. With hope. "I want to help others like me," she said. "I can't be the only one they called cursed. There are others. Hiding. Waiting. They need to know they're not alone." Jace nodded. "Then we find them. One world at a time." Harper looked between them. "And if the enemy comes again?" Lyra's eyes sparked. "Then we show them who they tried to burn." The humans began working again, fixing walls, restoring power, sending signals. But things had changed. They no longer looked at Lyra like a threat. They came to her with questions, with respect. Some even followed her without words, as if her presence alone gave them courage. Later that evening, Lyra stood in the command room, looking at a star map. Her glowing fingers touched planets, unexplored, forgotten, or feared. She looked at Jace. "Where do we start?" He smiled. Wherever you point. She pointed at a small world on the edge of the map. That one. They said it was cursed. But maybe it's just lost. They prepared the ship together. It wasn't fancy, just a patched-up human cruiser with alien upgrades and new markings. Her markings, carved into the hull like a badge of survival. Before they left, Lyra walked through the outpost one last time. She paused by the fire pit ruins, the place where she had almost died. The ground still smelled of smoke. I thought this would be the end, she whispered. Jay stepped beside her. It was the end. Of fear. Of silence. Of their control over you. She turned to him. And the beginning of something else. He reached out his hand. You ready, star-blooded queen? She took it. Let's fly. As their ship rose into the sky, humans and aliens alike watched from below. A girl once meant to burn, now flew toward the stars. She was no longer a victim. She was no longer a curse. She was the storm they couldn't stop, and the universe would never forget the day she rose from the fire and took her place among the stars.